It's 5 o'clock, and I'd appreciate it if everyone would take a seat so we can start our meeting. Good evening, everyone. I'll begin today's meeting by asking Vice President Wayne Walker to make a general announcement for our guests.
I guess it would help if I turned the microphone on. Thank you, President Wilkerson. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out, braving the little chill. At every board meeting, a representative from the Deaf Hearing Communications Center is here to provide sign language interpretation of the proceedings. And as always, we say thank you. Representatives from the Office of Family and Community Engagement are stationed in the lobby to help with interpretation services. The proceedings of this meeting are being streamed live on the internet at www.philasd.org/live and can be seen on PSTV's Comcast Channel 52 and Verizon Fios Channel 20. The proceedings are also being recorded by the School District of Philadelphia. The school district's recordings are protected by the copyright laws of the United States and may not be used in any manner without the express written consent of the school district. By participating in tonight's meeting, members of the public acknowledge that the school district may use its recordings for any purpose without obtaining permission or paying any compensation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Vice President Walker. Before we move on to our student performance, I'd like to point you to an even easier way to access our board management system, Novus. I have behind me a QR code. If you point your cell phone at the QR code, it'll lead you directly to our online agenda. Novus is our new system for posting board materials and agendas publicly on our website. For those who have an older phone or have a phone that doesn't have a built-in QR application, we have printed agendas and materials outside in the lobby. We have 4 binders with the materials. For those of you watching our live stream, materials can be accessed via the Board of Education's website at www.philasd.org/schoolboard/meeting materials. Now we'll have a student performance by talented students from Northeast High. They're directed by Dr. Jay Fluellen. Dr. Fluellen.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before we begin, we just wanted to let you know a couple of things. Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before we begin, we just wanted to let you know a couple of things. In a few short days, we will be celebrating the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr., one of the most influential men in our country's history. He taught a message of peace, equality, and justice, going so far as to say that such justice rolls like a mighty stream. Today, us standing here, us being here, in one way, fulfills King's wishes for justice. For the first time in many years, we are gathered to begin a new chapter for our schools and the teachers and students within them. As we sing our pieces for you today, which are Think of Me and Like a Mighty Stream, please take the time to realize our accomplishments, that people will indeed remember us wherever we go, and that justice is indeed flowing like a mighty stream. Thank you.
Like a mighty stream, let justice justice roll. Let justice roll. Let justice roll like a mighty stream. Oh, every trial will overcome. When every child beneath the sun and every soul shall live as one. The noble dream has just begun. Like a mighty stream, like a mighty stream, like a mighty stream. Let justice roll. Let justice roll. Let justice roll like a mighty stream. Like a mighty stream. Like a mighty stream. Like a mighty stream. Let justice roll. Let justice roll. Let justice roll like a mighty stream. Think of me, forget me not. Remember me wherever you go. Think of me, forget me not. Remember me wherever you go. Think of me, forget me not. Remember me wherever you go. Think of me, forget me not. Remember me wherever you go. Think of me, forget me not. Remember me wherever you go. Think of me, forget me not. Remember me wherever you go. Think of me, forget me not. Remember me wherever you go. Think of me, forget me not. Remember me wherever you go. I am yours and you are mine. Remember me wherever you go. I am yours and you are mine. Remember me wherever you go. I am yours and you are mine. Remember me wherever you go. I am yours and you are mine. Remember me wherever you go. Think of me, forget me not. Remember me wherever you go. Think of me, forget me not. Remember me wherever you go. Think of me, forget me not. Remember me wherever you go. Think of me, forget me not. Remember me wherever you go.
Please, we've given them a round of applause, but want to really thank you for a wonderful performance this evening. And congratulations also to Dr. Jay Fluellen for a wonderful performance and great work with the students at Northeast High. We'll now have our regular business, handle our regular business with roll call. Ms. Rout, please make an announcement about the board's executive sessions and then call the roll.
Thank you, Madam President. The Board of Education met in executive session during a recess in the board meeting on December 13th, 2018, to discuss quasi-judicial matters. proceedings with Richard Allen Charter School, and privileged and confidential matters. The board also met in executive session on January 3rd, 2019 concerning quasi-judicial matters and privileged and confidential matters. And the board again met today in executive session to discuss personnel matters, quasi-judicial proceedings, privileged or confidential matters, and information and strategy in connection with the following litigation. Berry versus School District of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania Commonwealth Court, 868 CD 2018, which I learned just before the meeting, and I don't have the docket number, has been appealed. So I apologize, I don't have the docket number yet. Burlington versus Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, PA Supreme Court, 23 EAP 2017, regarding the scope of the exception to tort immunity. Pagan versus School District of Philadelphia, Philadelphia Court of Common Pleas, number 1804-02104, involving claims alleging personal injury. Weibel versus School District of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania Commonwealth Court, 1392, CD 2018. This is a Pennsylvania Human Relations Act claim alleging discrimination based on gender. First Philadelphia Preparatory Charter School, Commonwealth Court 159 MD 2017, claims regarding payment rates to charter schools. Antonio Pantoja Charter School versus School District of Philadelphia, Commonwealth Court 289 MD 2017, claims relating to payments to charter schools. And administrative proceedings in the Pennsylvania Department of Education, School District of Philadelphia versus Antonio Pantoja Charter School, docket number BBFM 06 2017 20, consolidated matters relating to payments to charter schools. I will now call the roll. Ms. Danzy is not present. Ms. Ahea Hinton?
Present.
Ms. Fix Lopez?
Present.
Mr. Huang?
Present.
Dr. McColgan?
Present.
Dr. McGinley?
Present.
Dr. McIver is not present. Vice President Walker?
Present.
And President Wilkerson?
Present.
Thank you. Superintendent Height?
Present.
And Julia Frank?
Present.
And Alfredo Pratico?
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we begin with our public speakers and the other presentations, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the December 13th action meeting and reorganization meeting?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say yes.
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 Those opposed? Thank you. The action meeting, reorganization meeting minutes are approved. Dr. Height, do you have opening remarks?
I do. Good afternoon, and thank you, President Wilkerson. Before I begin my remarks, I would first like to once again recognize the impressive student musicians from the Northeast High School Vocal Ensemble and their director, Dr. Jay Fluellen. We want to recognize, I see you, Dr. Fluellen, in the back. We want to recognize Dr. Fluellen and the students one more time. Thank you so much. I would also like to wish all of the board members and everyone in attendance here today a Happy New Year. I am looking forward to working collectively to make sure the second half of the school year is successful for our students and our staff. A new year presents new opportunities for all of us to learn and grow, and I hope we can all take advantage of the experiences that will make us more thoughtful and engaged learners and leaders. Here's to a happy and healthy 2019 filled with new beginnings and room for personal growth and achievement. Now that it's a new year, there's a new opportunity for parents and guardians to put our youngest learners on the path to success by registering for pre-K and kindergarten for the 2019-2020 school year. Registration for pre-K is now open, and kindergarten registration begins next Tuesday, January 22nd. Children should be 3 years old by September 1st, 2019, to be enrolled in pre-K, and 5 years old by September 1st to be enrolled in kindergarten. We are even launching a Thrive at 5 campaign, encouraging families in particular to register their children for kindergarten, so be on the lookout for those materials. Please remember, parents and guardians should register their children for pre-K at the district's pre-K office here at the Education Center in Suite 170 on the first floor. Families should register their children for kindergarten at their neighborhood schools. We know that early childhood education leads to higher high school graduation and college matriculation rates, improved achievement in reading and math, enhanced language development, and greater earning potential. This is why we encourage all families to ensure their young children have the tools they need to succeed by registering them for pre-K and kindergarten. Families can find more information on the district's website at philasd.org/early childhood. There are also new opportunities for interested teaching candidates to join the district for the 2019-2020 school year. The district teacher application process is now open, almost 2 months earlier than in previous years. So please refer anyone you know who may be interested to our website at jobs.philasd.org. At a time when we are seeing tremendous growth in climate and achievement in our schools, we're excited to add more passionate teachers to lead classrooms. We are also hiring teachers earlier each year to ensure every classroom has a great teacher on the first day of school so that our students have the best opportunity to succeed. While we're looking to hire teachers in all content areas, new and experienced teachers, and teachers of color, we are particularly focused on finding teachers for the following subjects: special education, math, science, Spanish, English, and English for speakers of other languages, or ESL. This year, the district will issue early contracts guaranteeing employment to strong candidates who apply before March. So we encourage interested candidates to submit their applications as soon as possible. Now that we are in the heart of the winter season, finally, I want to let families know that the district has a new page on their website that outlines the details behind the decisions we will probably have to make when there is inclement weather. The web page includes information about how we decide whether to close schools, delay opening, or dismiss early due to snow. When we make the final call about whether to close schools, and a process once the call is made. The safety of our students, teachers, principals, and staff is the primary consideration when we make any type of school closure decision. To learn more, I encourage everyone to visit our website at philasd.org. From there, you can click the About tab at the top of the page and then select Inclement Weather Policy. And please remember, you can always find up-to-date information about our school closings on our website. In honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Monday, January 21st, students and community members from across the district will celebrate his life with a wide variety of events and service projects. I will be starting out the day at the largest King Day of Service event in the nation at Girard College. This year's theme will be A World Without Gun Violence and focuses on projects to envision peace in our communities. I'm also excited to visit sites of other local King Day of Service projects, including City Years project at Kensington High School and the Peace and Love Pledge project at the Met. Many of our schools will also be hosting projects, and I encourage anyone interested in participating to reach out to our schools to see how they can get involved. And as we reflect on Dr. King's legacy, I'm reminded by one of my favorite quotes of his. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Throughout the past year, we've seen many of our courageous students and youth across the country become some of the most effective and vocal agents of change. They are using their voices to speak out about the issues that are important to them, including the eradication of gun violence. Here in Philadelphia, our students have organized awareness events and walkouts, developed successful social media campaigns, and advocated on behalf of themselves and their neighbors and communities affected by gun violence. They are unafraid to stand up for what is right and for those who do not have a voice. I think Dr. King would be very proud, and I hope we can all honor his legacy this coming Monday. Madam President, I would like to provide a couple of updates on 2 items of business that were discussed at a recent Student Achievement and Support Committee. We have agreed with the recommendations to delay the action item regarding the contract with West Ed and its Quality Teaching for English Learners initiative. We would like to provide the Academic and Student Supports Committee with more information about how we will measure the program's effectiveness and how it will integrate with other ELL programming before bringing it to the board for vote in February. In addition, I urge members of the board to approve action item 3 regarding a contract with Magnum Integrated Marketing. I understand the Academic and Student Supports Committee discussed delaying this until February because recruiting and retention is a February committee topic. However, timing of this important item is really important to our recruitment efforts. This partnership will allow the district to recruit teachers and school-based support staff through a digital campaign. We're looking to begin this recruitment work as quickly as possible to ensure both our students and teachers are prepared for the new school year. By delaying this action until February, we would not be able to launch the campaign until after February 28th, given the date of the board meeting. The important planned activities with Magnum from now through February are the deployment of digital advertising, search and keyword advertising, and paid social media. Delaying any action on this agenda item would jeopardize our ability to do this important work. Lastly, I'm also recommending action item number 10, which seeks authorization to work with 3 organizations to assist the district in providing literacy training and supports for teachers, principals, and assistant superintendents in all schools across all grades K through 12. The reason we are seeking to work with CLI, American Reading, and Scholastic is because our work with them for the past 3 years has been successful. We want to continue to build on the progress that we are making.
taken to complete the first step of the planning process. During this phase, her team has researched best practices, defined college and career readiness, analyzed system-wide data trends, and formed a cross-functional work group to define the characteristics of a district graduate based on industry needs. Identified strategic areas for focus for the high school transformation plan, and more detailed information of this presentation and information presented on the career and technical education is posted with materials from our meeting on the website. The committee also received updates on the status of the 2017-18 school progress reports, which will be released later this month. Additionally, Dr. Bird shared findings from the school quality review process for the 3 schools that were reviewed from the SGS process this year. Over the next few days, recommendations will be shared with school principals for improvement of performance of those schools. Finally, the committee discussed several action items. Most notably, the committee recommended that Dr. Height withdraw 2 action items. Dr. Height has asked for timely support of the contract with Magnum. Action item 11, a contract with WestEd, professional development for English language instruction, is pending further review and discussion by this committee.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from our policy committee. Dr. McColgan, please share your committee report.
Thank you. So with the new year come new committee responsibilities for me as the one of the co-chairs of the policy committee. We met also in January in our committee trifecta day, as Dr. McGinley mentioned. In the policy committee, we held our second quarter meeting this month to review 10 policies related to programs, pupils, employees, finances, property operations, and community. We briefly discussed 4 of the policies during the meeting: Policy 111, lesson plans; Policy 217, graduation requirements; Policy 805, emergency preparedness; and Policy 916, volunteers. I think that's the first time I said that word preparedness correctly. The committee is recommending that the following 10 policies be recommended for public review at our next meeting: 111, lesson plans; 123.3, sportsmanship; 211, student accident insurance; 217, graduation requirements; 304, employment of district staff; 617, administrative activity funds; 709, key entry and usage; 804, school day; 805, emergency preparedness; 916, volunteers. Additionally, the committee is recommending the elimination of Policy 305, employment of substitutes, and Policy 345, identification badges, to avoid redundancy. Relevant information from these 2 policies have been incorporated into draft policy 304, employment of district staff. Draft policies and administrative procedures will be on the agenda for public review at the February action meeting.
Thank you, Dr. McColgan. Are there any questions on any of the committee reports? Thank you. Next on our agenda is hearing from speakers who are speaking on topics related to action items being considered this evening. At this time, we'll hear from our student speakers first, those who are registered to speak on action items we're considering this evening. We'll hear from speakers on general topics later on our agenda after we've voted on tonight's business. I'd like to note that we've received written testimony to be entered into the record of tonight's meeting from Sandra Vaughn. This testimony was on topic action item number 10. I'd like to mention that we've received multiple emails on this topic. First, if there are any elected officials, we usually invite them to come up and make brief comments. I don't see any, and so Ms. Rock, would you please share speakers policy and then call up our first 5 speakers?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam President. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to thank you for your input in school district matters and issues, including the proposed actions being discussed this evening. To respect every speaker's time, we will be strictly enforcing the 3-minute per speaker time limit. There is an electronic time prompt on the table. When the yellow light comes on, you will have 30 seconds to finish your remarks. When the red light comes on, your time is completed. Student speakers and those speaking on action items have been prioritized on the agenda. Those speaking on general topics will address the board after the board has completed formal business. Up to 4 speakers will address the board on each topic. Written testimony submitted in advance of the start of this meeting will be included as part of the record of tonight's meeting. I will be calling 5 speakers at a time, and I do ask that if your name is called, you come to sit in the front row or two, please, so we can keep the meeting moving. We will begin with our first 5 speakers. Khaled Adigbe, I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. Lingerbell Brempong, Keen Barksdale, Charles Mitchell, and Diane Payne.
You may begin.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Height. My name is Kalade Adebayo, and I am a senior and member of the Health and Medical Program at Northeast High School. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Magna program at Northeast High School. Although I'm currently in the Health and Medical Program, the Magna program has been a major factor in my high school experience. The staff and students showed me no hesitation and took me in as one of their own. The Magna program has exposed me and other students that are like me to opportunities and resources that we didn't know were available to us. Because of the Magna program, I've been able to join the AP Capstone program at my school, which has been performing phenomenally in recent years, which was also recognized by Dr. Height himself in the summer. I have also been actively involved in the National Honor Society, the Northeast Ushers Club, as well as the Northeast High School Marching Band and Jazz Band. With the help of the Magna program, I have been exposed to organizations like Philadelphia Futures, which prepare students for college. Because of the Magna program, I've had the opportunity to take college level classes at the University of Pennsylvania. Because of Magna program and the opportunities it's provided, I know that I'm fully prepared to take on the challenges that a higher education at college provides us. Because of the Magna program, I can proudly say that I was offered a full tuition admission to Boston University. This is a program that I would like to continue in the future for future generations because of the positive impact it's had on me and my peers. I want my younger brother to go into high school. Knowing that if he's astounded in his performance in school, the sky's the limit. The Magna program has done a lot of wonders in the lives of past students and mine, and I hope will continue to help carve a path for students in coming generations. I want to thank the Board of Education for providing an environment that nurtures and cultivates the ideal and well-rounded student, one which I call my neighborhood high school. Thank you.
Lingerbell Brempong, thank you.
Hello, school board. My name is Lingerbell Brempong. I am 17 and a junior at Northeast High School, specifically in the Magna program. I came to Northeast High School by choice. The diversity, the school spirit, the academics are all what drew me from my school boundaries to this school. Having the opportunity to attend Northeast High School has been life-changing for me. I have been pushed and supported so that I could take challenging AP classes, including the AP Capstone, where I'm in my first year AP seminar. My college readiness has significantly improved. This is not only the case for myself, but for hundreds of other students like me. There have been struggles, but my teachers are helping me to learn the academic integrity, rigor, and spirit that I desire. The students that are in the Magna program at Northeast High School and Northeast High School as a whole come in different demographics, such as race, religion, nationality, and socioeconomic status. For myself, I'm a first-generation African-American with immigrant parents from Ghana, West Africa. I'm lucky to live in a two-parent household and have parents that have persevered through the troubles of making a living while being an immigrant. Although I do not live lavishly, I live rather comfortably in the Torresville section of Northeast Philadelphia. These same demographics differ from person to person, which is the main reason why I decided to come to Northeast. As someone who is a part of a minority, getting to know and see people from all around the globe at a school meant a lot to me, and I'm thankful to have the opportunity to go to the school with such talented and diverse students. My time in Northeast High School has not only been filled with outstanding academic achievement, but also extracurriculars that have taught me life lessons which I will bring to college. I have participated in girls volleyball since my freshman year as a way to release negative energy and be a part of a hardworking team that supports and uplifts each other. I have participated in National Honor Society, which has molded me into a leader and a scholar outside of the classroom, while also bringing me even stronger school spirit. Even participating in the little things, such as going to homecoming with friends, telling my high school story in front of hundreds of incoming freshmen, or even just staying after school to help decorate an event, have all shaped me into a tenacious, strong feast spirit. This time next year, I will be thinking about prom, convocation, and graduation. What I will also be thinking about is how grateful I am to have had the opportunity to choose to go to a school that has prepared me both in and out of the classroom to be the best person I can be as I pursue higher education. I am grateful for the opportunity to find my fit at Northeast, to be a part of the legacy of the school, and hope to show the world just how much an African woman can achieve. Thank you.
Thank you. Keen Barksdale, please.
Hi, my name is Kean Barksdale. I'm a senior in the Northeast Magnet program. I would like to begin by thanking the board and Dr. Height for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of my high school. For the past 3.5 years, I spent my mornings and evenings taking an hour-long trip to and from school. Despite this long travel, I know Northeast is right for me. A week into my freshman year, I met with the director of the Magnet program and introduced myself. He then told me about a college-bound program called Philadelphia Futures. He personally emailed them and introduced me. This small act began a long-time friendship. Thank you, Mr. Frank. Not only Mr. Frank, but every one of my teachers have motivated me, guided me, and helped me, and showed me I had a passion for learning. As a 9th grader, I had an outline of what courses I wanted to take throughout my high school. With the guidance of many teachers, I was able to plan the best route to pursue my interests in engineering and biology, and be prepared for a future in higher education. The outreach of Northeast High School and outside organizations like Philadelphia Futures led me to opportunities such as spending weekends at the University of Pennsylvania's Access Engineering classes, a summer at Temple University taking a college exploration program, a summer at Carnegie Mellon University taking college classes and participating in engineering projects, and currently interning at the Penn Center for Personalized Diagnostics. I'm thankful for the academics, and I am thankful for the community of Northeast, which has had a great impact on my life. It is one of the most diverse places I've ever been, which has allowed me to make friends from across the globe: China, Bangladesh, Palestine, Colombia, Venezuela, and Central Africa. This diverse community has broadened my perspective to understand others, be aware of events outside and cultures, be aware of events and cultures outside of the U.S., and allowed me to appreciate my own culture and the values it holds. Starting as an introvert, this open community has turned me into a young leader who will stand for anyone who needs help, from managing my school's robotics team to being president of the National Honor Society. Without these experiences, I wouldn't be the person I am today. Because of Northeast and the cascade of opportunities that arose there, I've learned to dream bigger and that there are no limits to where I can go. I'm ecstatic to say this fall, I'll be attending Johns Hopkins University on a full ride scholarship. For all these reasons, I'm confident to say there's no school like Northeast. Thank you.
Sorry. Charles Mitchell. Thank you. You can start.
Hi, my name is Charles Mitchell, and I'm a sophomore at the Workshop School. I want to speak to you today about my experiences as a student in the School District of Philadelphia. At my old school, I was greeted every day by at least 2 officers standing at the door. These officers gave us random searches. They would pat down our arms and chests and go through our bags. Waiting online to be searched made me late to class, and if I tried to explain to teachers that I was getting searched, they didn't want to hear that. One teacher even told me the reason we had to be searched was because of y'all. I really wanted perfect on-time attendance, but the searches ruined that. At my current school, I'm greeted every day with a hello and a smile from our secretary. I have perfect on-time attendance. Why is that? I don't have to wait in line to go through metal detectors or get searched. I can get right up to class, and there are no police officers, and there are tons of people who care about us. I would even go as far as to say all my teachers are counselors. They're there when we need them, they support us, and we can trust them with anything. I would say that about my classmates too. We support each other and help each other get through the bad days. So even though we have 1 counselor, it feels like we have 300. At my old school, there was no trust. They said that they were preparing us for the real world, but it seemed like they were preparing us for a world where no one cared about us and no one would stand up for us. If we had a problem, you were expected to deal with it on your own, but at the same time, you were always being watched. At my current school, adults trust us and the trust is reciprocated. It feels more like a safe haven. At my old school, we had to be the same and act the same. At my current school, I can be myself. Parents send their kids every day to school because they believe it's a safe place for them to learn and grow. But if schools treat kids like mini soldiers, how will they learn to be themselves and to be compassionate? Starting the day with police officers and metal detectors makes students feel scared and stressed. When I used to go through metal detectors every day, you know what was going through my mind? The fear that it will go off. The fear that if I left a key in my back pocket, I would get tackled by police. And a lot of kids think that this is just normal, but it's not. Schools are meant to be a place where you can express yourself and become who you are. But if you're treating us like criminals, then that just might be how you turn out. In the school district of Philadelphia, there are more police officers in school than counselors. This sends the message that adults are interested in punishing us than supporting us, and this is why the school-to-prison pipeline is still in effect today. My story has a happy ending. I ended up in a school where I felt safe to express myself, where I can trust my peers and my teachers. Most high school students don't have this. Instead of spending money on metal detectors and police officers, we should spend money on after-school programs, janitors, counselors, better food, things that would make students more comfortable instead of afraid.
As Ms. Payne comes to the front, can I ask for the next group to please come up to the front? Christine Del Rossi, Lisa Haber, Teresa Engst, and Rosa Fogarty, please. Thank you.
Good evening. Action item 10 proposes to spend over $17 million on renewing CLI. If approved, this will bring the total spend to over $40 million since 2014. Parents and teachers in SGS cohorts consistently appeal for mostly sound, research-based, in-house commitments like smaller class size, additional student-to-adult ratios, and school libraries. But once again, the district funnels money into a top-down, outsourced initiative. Coming soon will be the decisions to approve or deny 3 new charter school applications. Charter school expense is the single biggest and most destructive expense in the school district budget. Destructive because the effort to provide choice for some comes at the financial harm to all remaining public school students. This, despite charter school sector largely failing to deliver even adequate academic achievement as evidenced in the charter SPR scores across the district. To look at just one of those applications, Tax at St. Vincent and American Paradigm School, is to peek into a shadowy world of real estate transactions, highly paid CEOs, and poor academic performance. Getting to the bottom of real estate deals and salaries in any charter school company is groping in the dark. This is because charter schools don't have to make their dealings transparent. It is legal for them not to under PA's highly corrupt charter school law. American Paradigm purchased for their headquarters 8101 Castor Avenue. This property was purchased under a joint venture with Stanwood Associates, a company without any searchable presence. Looking at the names and addresses of the 2 brothers who signed for the shadowy company, you discover 2 home addresses, one in Holland, PA, and one in Naples, Florida. The signees are James and Joseph Fleur, two brothers whose names appear on area funeral homes. The $5 million purchase of the old St. Vincent orphanage for tax at St. Vincent will be another opaque deal with the public in the dark about fees, interest rates, and who benefits. But you can view the SPRs of American Paradigm's cohort of schools on the district website. 5 campuses are in Intervene, and 1 campus in Watch in their academic achievement scores. Despite the corrupt charter school law, here's what you can do. You can say no to the application of a company whose academic scores are Intervene and abysmal. You can say no to additional financial harm to existing public school students. You have more than just cause to vote no on this application. Thank you.
Christine Del Rossi.
Good evening. I'm an educator at Anne Frank Elementary, one of the leading public elementary schools in Philadelphia. I am here to vent my frustration about the upcoming renewal of the CLI contract and the potential expansion of American Paradigm Charter Company to the Northeast, including the 19115 zip code of my school. I have worked for the district since 2001, and money issues have always been front and center for district woes. No surprise, since Philadelphia is the poorest major U.S. city. Charter schools siphon money away from public schools thanks to one of the worst charter school laws in the country. Therefore, we must be especially prudent on how money is spent in the district. Charter schools are not a fiscally prudent solution to the overcrowding problem in the Northeast, since charter schools continue to suck money out of the district. We must have a moratorium on charter expansion until all public schools are made whole and all buildings are safe and toxin-free. So what does it take to become a teacher? You earn a college degree that involves coursework and how to deliver, assess, and manage the content that you specialize in. You are required to complete student teaching where you put these theories into practice under the supervision of a veteran teacher. In pursuing an elementary certification, you take courses on how to teach literacy to students in K through 6. This is common knowledge, so it baffles me. Why have we paid millions of dollars to CLI to coach teachers and what they have already earned degrees certifying their competency in? Make no mistake, there are also endless walkthroughs, informals, and formal observations by rating officers or the principal to determine who is or is not capable. If there are problem areas that need addressed, the district already employs coaches to assist these teachers. If your rating officer finds the teacher's work to be satisfactory, why would they need coaching from CLI to the tune of millions of dollars? Could one of the problems in retaining quality experienced teachers be the result of the district always treating teachers as the problem that needs fixing? Is the solution truly to pay CLI $17 million on top of the millions they have already received? Is CLI what our students really need to be reading on grade level, prepared for graduation, and ready to compete in a global economy? I think not. Do any of tonight's action items include spending millions to reduce class size? That is what our students really need. Do any of tonight's action items include spending millions to restore libraries in all our schools? That is what our students really need. Do any of tonight's action items include spending millions to address every toxic condition in every school? That is what our students really need. Do any of tonight's action items include spending millions on increased support staff that work with students on literacy skills? That is what our students really need. Not more millions of dollars on outside agencies like CLI or lost to expanding charter companies like American Paradigm. Thank you.
Lisa Haber.
APS member Deborah Grill and I wrote a commentary in the notebook this week about a library that opened in a district school, not because of the district's policy, but despite them. Crowdfunding for a school library is not innovation, it is desperation. Every school district school was built with a library, but now libraries are being converted like paved over trolley tracks so that they can never be libraries. I'm guessing that every person sitting at this table went to a school that had a library, except maybe our 2 student representatives. I'm sorry. Every school needs a school library. The only significant way this board can show it is not the SRC is by changing this district's spending priorities.
The district must reject the idea, furthered by corporate education reformers, that the biggest problem, one we should spend tens of millions of dollars to correct, is teacher ineffectiveness. Action item 10, $17 million for expanding the contract of CLI and other companies, is another example of misguided spending. I sent the board this week via letter a sampling of comments that teachers sent to me about CLI. Most feel that even though CLI used to be a good program, it is not any longer. Over the past 5 years, the district has spent $40 million if this $17 million is approved. But if you just look at this $17 million and you divide by 100,000, which is what a librarian would cost, the district could have 173 librarians. Next month, the board will vote on 3 new charter applications. The district cannot afford and does not need any more charter schools. In December, the board reversed, not publicly, but reversed a non-renewal vote by the SRC and gave as a rationalization that it wanted to avoid legal fees if the charter appealed. That same rationale was used in 2 previous cases. The best way to avoid having to renew failing charters or having to spend money on legal fees is not to approve any more charters. The SRC built and maintained a corrupt pay-to-play system that has to end. The salary of every district employee is public information. That is not true for charter employees. However, the most recent federal tax information shows that charter CEOs are compensated very well, and that is because their own boards, not this board, decides what to pay them. This board has no control over that. The CEO of the charter that was just renewed in December, despite years of decline, is paid just under $200,000. 2 charter CEOs make more than Dr. Height. The total amount paid to charter CEOs in 2017 was just under $9 million, and that's for 1/3 of the district's children. Your website says, first and foremost, all of the work of the board will be guided by this non-negotiable principle. The interests of our students come first. You cannot enrich CEOs and the real estate interests and consultants and say you're looking out for the best interests of the children. Thank you.
Teresa Engst.
Okay. My name is Teresa Engst, and I work with Asian Americans United. I am here today because we were contacted by Chinese immigrant parents in the Mayfair community with many questions and concerns about the new school to be built on the Lincoln High School campus. These parents, many of whom are limited English proficient, want to be included in the decision-making process for the new school. They could not be present today because of timing. It happens to be family night at their school, child care concerns, and distance. Parents we spoke with were not even aware that a final decision was being made on the location, nor of the decision to go forward with a K-8 school. It has been 6 months since the last district hosted informational session. We would like to know when the district plans to host follow-up planning sessions with community members, how the broader community will be included in the decision-making process about the school, and what the district's plan for outreach, including in-language outreach to multiple social media and community platforms, would be. Parents have many specific questions, and we're hoping that they have a chance to actually ask you directly. These questions include the proximity of the new school to the high school, the commute to the school. Many working families rely on grandparents and intergenerational families to walk kids to and from school, and parents are concerned about travel and wonder if buses will be available. Parents are also concerned about coordinating pickup from multiple schools, which has already been a problem with the move to the Meehan School. The process for deciding the new school's catchment area, what language support services for families and ESOL programming will be available at the new school for LEP families, and the projected timeline for completion of the school. Parents would like to know the next steps the district plans to make to ensure that the community in and around the proposed new school will be a part of the decision-making process for the school going forward and fully able to participate in their needed language. We are asking that you please share your projected outreach and community planning session and schedule. Thank you.
Dr. Height.
Sure. I want to make sure that we have, so that it's accurate information that everybody is working from, that I'm going to ask Danielle Floyd to come up and talk about tonight's action item, because I don't think it's quite what you described, and I just want to make sure we have most accurate information we can around what we're asking the board to take action on.
That would be great.
Thanks.
Oh, I'm sorry, I will move.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Height. I'm Danielle Floyd, Chief Operating Officer. The purpose of action item 5 is simply asking the board's permission for us to file court papers with Orphans Court. There are restrictions on the overall site that covers the Lincoln and Meehan property that we need lifted in order to have greater options when it comes to where the building is going to be placed. In order for that to occur, we need legal approval to do so, and we're asking the board's permission to allow us to file those appropriate papers with the board. And we'll also be happy to follow up to, we have committed as part of this process to make sure that community is engaged moving forward, as we also committed to providing the board with updates with regards to decisions around site, enrollment, boundaries, and so on. But tonight's action is specifically to allow us to file the necessary legal papers to get greater flexibility for the site.
Dr. McGinley, you have a question?
No, I have a comment. The board has many of the same concerns that the speaker raised, and you said that there are several places where the board will be updated, but there are actually several places in the resolution we passed where the board has to approve next steps. So things like exact location, design, catchment area, and so forth, those things are places where you'll be coming back to the board for more discussion. The final request, I'm very concerned about this because the community has been saddled with a terrible school building on that property for 40-some years. I ran it for a few years. And I don't want us to make another mistake that's going to, hinder that community moving forward. So I want to re-ask the question that the speaker asked about engaging with families in language, and about a meeting with the Asian American community that could take place in the near future to update the status, and then future meetings along those lines.
Absolutely. We're committed to having community engaged as well as the board engaged around every facet of this program. And then it would be including having meetings out in the specific school communities to address actually many of the comments and questions that were raised tonight, and to make sure that we are accommodating the many language needs that exist in the 5-6 schools that would be impacted by this project.
At the Facilities Committee meeting last week, didn't you indicate that there was outreach to Asian Americans United to try to work on engaging with families?
We had meetings prior. This was specifically related to the transition of the K-1 program that was occurring over at Meehan for this year.
So we need that same exact kind of outreach to occur on this project?
Yes.
Are there any other comments from the board? Thank you. Call our next speaker.
Rosa Fogarty, please.
Hi, good evening, school board. My name is Rosa Fogarty. I'm a second grade teacher at John Hancock. I've been teaching since 2002. I am reading this letter on behalf of my colleague, Sandra Vaughn. It is my understanding that successes have been reported with the CLI program. It is also my understanding that the cost to renew this contract is $17 million. I have to respectfully disagree with the decision to retain CLI. CLI is not a one-size-fits-all incentive. CLI does not like to be called a program, so I will refrain from calling it such. $17,000 is an obscene amount of money, $1 million, money to spend on an initiative that provides no student instruction, supports, or materials rather than a coach. A coach who often has not taught in the city of Philadelphia. A coach who has not taught in a grade content in which they are coaching. By this standard, I could attend a training, read a few books and articles, and then be qualified to coach a lawyer, accountant, business person, or physician. I am certain CLI has a place in some settings, Out of the 3 coaches in the last 4 years, only 1 has slightly been somewhat helpful to our faculty. I am certainly not stating that all educators do not have something to learn. We all do. However, CLI is not providing any new innovative techniques. The district and CLI are absolutely not on the same page as far as best practices and instruction. We have heard one message from CLI and a completely different message from a regional superintendent. CLI has recommended specific literacy centers, but when put into practice, we were told by administration that they were not rigorous enough. I've attended PD throughout the school district regarding best practices and received mixed messages again. There are 2 completely different schools of thought on Reader's Workshop, and how can a school board support an initiative in which they are not 100% familiar with? How can a board support an initiative without speaking to the people implementing it? Why are we not hiring teachers to reduce class size? Why are we not hiring qualified assistants to support children? Why are we spending such a vast amount of money on people who cannot work with children in small groups? You cannot possibly believe that giving teachers more work and taking up their time and meeting with coaches is beneficial. The School District of Philadelphia has identified best practices. Why not provide PD by actual employees who are successful in implementing these practices rather than paying outside contractors? The school district employees who facilitate Summer Institute in 2017 were out of this world. I received more information, resources, ideas, enthusiasm from these colleagues than ever from CLI. Please understand I'm not bashing CLI. I am sure it has benefits to districts that lack in the literacy model. It can probably be beneficial to new teachers and new to early childhood. I am certain, however, that equally or more qualified teachers exist in the district, coaches who can work with the children, staff, administration to give everyone the support they need to qualify for education deserving that's far more urgent.
Thank you. It is now time to discuss and vote on this month's action items. We'll begin with the talent action items. Our first matter is a resolution to approve personnel hires. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any comments from board members? Ms. Rout, please call the roll.
Thank you. On the approval of personnel hires, action item 1, Ms. Ahia Hinton.
I will be abstaining because of familiar relationship.
Thank you. Ms. Fix Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Huang.
Yes.
Dr. McColgan.
Yes.
Dr. McGinley.
Yes.
Vice President Walker.
Yes.
President Wilkerson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Our next item is action item number 2, approval of personnel terminations. May I have a motion and a second to consider action item 2?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Rock, are there any comments from board members? Ms. Rock, please call the roll.
Ms. Ahia Hinton.
Yes.
Ms. Fix Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Huang.
Yes.
Dr. McColgan.
Yes.
Dr. McGinley.
Yes.
Vice President Walker.
Yes.
President Wilkerson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Our next action items are action items 3 through 6, a contract from Magnum Integrated Marketing, settlement of federal court action, and the release of expanded deed restrictions. May I have a motion and a second to consider action items 3 through 6?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any comments from board members? Ms. Rout, please call the roll.
Ms. Ahia Hinton.
Yes.
Ms. Fix Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Huang.
Yes.
Dr. McColgan.
Yes.
Dr. McGinley.
Yes.
Vice President Walker.
Yes.
President Wilkerson.
Yes. Our next action items are action items 7 through 9. 7 is a memorandum with UESF for Family Housing Stabilization Programs, contract with Children's Hospital Policy Lab for an assessment of health service and students, and finally, a contract with Devereaux Advanced Behavioral Health. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any comments from board members? Ms. Rout, please call the roll.
Ms. Ahia Hinton.
Yes.
Ms. Fix Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Huang.
I'm abstaining on action item number 8 because CHOP is a current client of mine. I'm a yes for 7 and 9.
Thank you. Dr. McColgan.
Yes.
Dr. McGinley,
Yes.
Vice President Walker,
Yes.
President Wilkerson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Our next items to consider are action items 10 through 13. 10 is a contract with Children's Literacy Initiative. 11 is an amendment of the contract with the Free Library. 12 is acceptance of donation from the Widener Memorial Foundation. And 13 is a contract with No Adam. Is there a motion to approve action items 10 through 13?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any comments?
I'd like to talk about number 10.
Sure.
So this is probably one of the harder decisions for me since we've been around. I believe in the need for coaching completely. I understand it has its purposes. My bigger concerns are, is the gain that we're getting worth the money that we're putting into it? It's only been around for a few years. One of the things are, for how long do we let that continue? And so for me, the bigger issue is how does it fit into the bigger piece of the puzzle? I have concerns that it might be a narrow scope of, is this, as Joyce always says, is it the secret sauce? Are there many other things that need to fit the puzzle to actually then allow the coaching that has occurred to allow to flourish? And so, it is a one-year contract. I think considering it's a major anchor goal of the district, it's important for us to really consider it. With 1 year, I will support it this year. I think it gives the administration the opportunity to show the evidence at the end of the next year in particular. There have been gains. Are we going to continue to see those gains? Are those gains going to be worth the $17 million? But I do have some serious concerns. I think we really need to be watching it and as it progresses throughout the next year in particular.
Are there any other comments from board members? Dr. McGinley?
I think this is not a difficult decision for me. I'm a supporter of the model, and I'm a supporter of the program. I appreciate...
We can't hardly hear you.
I'm sorry. I'm a supporter of the model, and I'm a supporter of the program. And I think that we need to commit to an additional year, and I hope that the board does. Having a conversation informed by research about reading practice that's common across all of our elementary schools is really important and hard to accomplish. And so I appreciate the work that's being done here. I hear the concerns that are raised in the testimony, now the written testimony that we received, and I trust that and not just trust, I will check to make sure that we take these things into consideration. There are parts of the model that I admire. The contract is with Children's Literacy Initiative, but we are not wholesale adopting their model. And maybe that's why one of the, Ms. Vaughn at Hancock noted that they don't like it to be called a program. But it is a set of practices that are common in our primary grades now, and it gives us a way to think about reading, talk about reading, instruction, and use the effective practices that are supported by research. I am not a huge fan of large contracts with outside consultants, but I am supportive of this initiative and this contract for 1 more year.
Are there any other comments from board members on any of the resolutions? Ms. Rauch, would you please call the roll, call for the vote on action items 10 through 13?
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Ahaya Hinton?
Yes.
Ms. Fix Lopez?
I'll be abstaining from 11 as I'm currently a consultant for the Free Library, but I will vote yes on the other 3.
Thank you. Mr. Huang?
Yes.
Dr. McColgan?
Yes.
Dr. McGinley?
Yes, with specific appreciation for the work that's done by the Widener Memorial Foundation. They worked very hard over a long period of years to fund and secure a van for our children with some severe physical needs. I'm very happy that we finally were able to accept the donation of that van to benefit the children. So yes on all the items.
Thank you, Dr. McGinley. Vice President Walker?
Yes.
And President Wilkerson?
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll now hear from speakers registered on general topics. As a reminder, we'll be strictly enforcing the 3-minute per speaker time limit. There's an electronic time prompt on the table. When the yellow light comes on, you'll have 30 seconds to wrap up your comments. When the red light comes on, your time is up. Up to 4 speakers will address the board on each topic and have been registered on a first-come, first-served basis. Ms. Rauch, would you please call the next 5 speakers? Please begin making your way toward the front of the room.
Thank you. Keziah Ridgway, Ismael Jimenez, Angela Crawford, Dana Carter, and Christopher Frank. Please all come to the front. Thank you. And Ms. Ridgway, you can have a seat at the table. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Keziah Ridgway. There are 2 incidents that will stick with me for the rest of my life. They are the reasons why I believe that Black Lives Matter Week in School should be fully endorsed by the school board and district. The first was after 9/11, when my social studies teacher gloated over U.S. troops invading Iraq. My responses in defense of the Iraqi people were labeled as racist. I know that it was labeled as such because another teacher asked me about my comment and said he'd been told that I was racist. Imagine that, a 16-year-old black child being told by a white teacher that another white teacher said you are racist because you dared to question the teacher's humanity and moral standard. The second incident occurred while sitting in my high school counselor's office with my father and being asked where I wanted to go to college. Since my father had drilled these suggestions into my mind for years, I listed the names of every Ivy League school in the United States. My counselor told me I should lower my expectations. She would later apologize to my father after my PSAT scores came back, adding, "With scores like that, your child will be able to attend any school she wants." If I wasn't so confident in who I was at the time, this counselor's statement could have broken me. These incidents didn't occur in a microcosm. They represent what children of color experience every single day in many Philadelphia classrooms, which is why we need anti-racist training. As a black educator, it's important for me to go above and beyond in creating the necessary environments for all children to thrive. This means the school board should implement and support initiatives like Black Lives Matter at School Week, a national week supported by NEA to bring history, current events, and confidence building into all classrooms. It also means the board should implement professional development that is centered on anti-racist and bias training, one that focuses on what it means to be racist and how it can manifest in a school district with only 25% black educators and 48% African American students. Our children should not be exposed to racial trauma in the very place that should be educating the future generation to end it. The National Black Lives Matter Week in schools is the answer. Providing opportunities for teachers to complete anti-racist and bias training is the answer. As a parent and educator, I ask the school board of Philadelphia, will you support the National Black Lives Matter Week in schools, as well as the anti-racism and bias training created by Philadelphia educators? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ismael Jimenez. I am an educator in Philadelphia. I want to say thank you for this opportunity to testify in front of you guys, Dr. Height and the board. My name is Ismael Jimenez, and I am co-chair of the Caucus of Working Educators. I teach African American history at Kensington Creative and Performing Arts High School, also known as K-Kappa. Along with being a teacher, I am also a parent of children who attend schools in the district. As an educator, I am aware of the importance of introducing students to the real world through multiple lenses. Unfortunately, the reality in too many classrooms is the absence of critical analysis of relevant material presented to the students. 3 years ago, inspired by the events in Seattle from a day of action to support Black Lives Matter, several dedicated educators here in Philadelphia developed a week in action in schools around the 13 principles of Black Lives Matter. Each day, we planned events that coincided with each of the principles, open with the community to increase the opportunities for people across the city to engage in authentic and meaningful dialogue. In addition, we ask teachers to share and develop lesson plans around the principles that can be used in the classroom to deepen the conversations around racism, discrimination, and inequity. One of the great things about Philadelphia education is the African American history required graduation requirement. But education around racial justice issues is even needed for folks that teach the subject in schools across the city. Over the next year, at a conference of teachers in Baltimore, a teacher from New York suggested that we have the week expanded across the nation. From that suggestion led to over 20 cities in 2018 to endorse the and actively be involved in Black Lives Matter Week at school. With the expanded network, the need to create more robust curriculum that can be used from pre-K to post-secondary level became necessary. Through the coordination of several people across the country with over hundreds of submittals, we have now a treasure trove of age-appropriate lessons linked to standards. The lessons curated is not simply there to fester, but instead is an ever-growing database of resources that seek to deepen the conversation about our collective being across the country. This year, Black Lives Matter at School will be undertaken by over 30 cities, coast to coast to the southern section of the United States, including places like Nashville. We are proud of the movement we helped spark and will continue to be organized in order to create a more humane world. And just to quote King real quick, human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. We have to do it ourselves. Thank you.
Angela Crawford.
Good evening, Dr. Height and members of the board. My name is Angela Crawford. This is my 23rd year of teaching. I currently teach at Martin Luther King High School in Northwest Philadelphia. I'm also a member of the Melanated Educators Collective. So as an educator in the school district, where 69% of the student populations are Black and brown children, I'm strongly advocating for our students because they deserve to have an opportunity to engage, discuss, and participate in Black Lives Matter Week of Action in schools. Black Lives Matter Week of Action in schools is critical in providing our students to learn about the issues that concern Black and brown citizens. In our city and in our world, I am very much aware of the school district's offer of mandatory African American history course, which is offered in high school. However, many students only learn what is presented in textbooks. We must be aware that our textbooks and many other resources fail to provide multiple perspectives. When our children do not see themselves positively, it is a major effect on their psychological development. Our children deserve a learning experience which honors them, their culture, one that is not simplified or gives false information to enhance the agenda of the status quo. It has been my experience that when we show Black Lives Matter, students do better academically and socially. They walk with pride, they hold their heads proudly, and they become much more involved in schools and their communities. National Black Lives Week of Action in schools is endorsed by the NEA in over 30 cities, including Philadelphia. It offers teachers an opportunity to educate themselves on the issues and social conditions that affect all Black and brown students that teach with a comprehensive original curriculum that includes historical content and more. The Melanated Educator Collective asks that the school board endorse this week because our children's lives matter. Black lives matter. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dana Carter, and I am a 6th grade teacher at Julia de Burgos Elementary School. I am going to speak about why I believe the school board should support Black Lives Matter Week in schools. And I will tell you about my experience. Just forgive me because I just got braces like a week ago, so I'm still trying to figure out how to talk. So I started the school year at a new school in February of that particular school year. That particular school had a number of issues, and one of the major issues was student behavior. In my first 3 weeks at that school, I held 3 different positions. I ended up having to take over a K-8 literacy prep class that looked like a miniature version of Eastside High School in 1982. I actually heard Welcome to the Jungle playing when I would go by that classroom, by Guns N' Roses. One day in April of that year, a child spoke about how excited they were because Harriet Tubman was going to be on the new $20 bill. All of his classmates looked at him with confusion. I asked the class if they knew who Harriet Tubman was, and they had no idea. This is Harriet Tubman. She's the A in African American history, and these children had no idea. I began to have the same conversations with the students who came to me for literacy prep, and I was absolutely mortified. These children who looked just like me had absolutely no idea who they were. After those initial conversations, I taught literacy prep through stories of the African American experience. You could hear a pin drop on that entire floor by April. The children who would previously run the hall were the same ones who I began having to put out of my classroom because they didn't want to leave. Their behavior changed because I taught the children that they came from strength. Their behavior changed because I taught the children the struggle of their ancestors. They react differently when they understand that their great-grandparents weren't given the opportunity to be in school. And their behavior changed because I taught those children that they mattered and that their lives mattered. I have seen with my own eyes how children can transform when they develop self-love. Please support Black Lives Matter Week in schools. Thank you.
Christopher Frank. Is Christopher Frank here? See, I don't know if he's behind this group. Okay, thank you. I'm going to call the next 5 speakers. I ask that you come up to the front, please. Herman Douglas, Tamara Anderson, Barbara Dowdall, Eileen Posis, and Coleman Posis. Mr. Douglas, you can start. Thank you.
Hello, school board and Dr. Height. My name is Herman Douglas. I'm a father, a teacher, and a husband, and I love what I do. I'm here today because my daughter attended Central High School a couple years ago, and she came out of the closet to myself and my wife. During that time, when she came out of the closet, I had to make a decision. Do I accept my daughter for who she is and who she loves, or do I reject my daughter for who she is and who she loves? So my wife and I decided to accept my daughter and love on her and learn more about this. And we started to learn more about this through Black Lives Matter Week of Action. We started to understand exactly what male privilege was, because I didn't realize I had male privilege. I started to actually understand that I was homophobic, or I had these type of tendencies and did not realize it because I never saw it before through the eyes of my daughter. My daughter showed me who I really was, and I'm ashamed of who I was as a Black educator here in Philadelphia, North Philadelphia to be exact. So I started to change my paradigm, and it began to shift. And through those shifts, I was able to start to love on my students even more than before, because I realized I was wrong in my pedagogical practices for not including queer and transgender folk within my classroom. Now today I have a student that came to me and said to me, Mr. Douglas, can I get in the boys' line? And years ago I would have said, hell no. You can't get into the boys' line. But now I allowed her to get into the boys' line, and now I love her for who she is. I just encourage us as a school district to give this type of training, because we don't know how to deal with this type of situation until our paradigm is shifted and we're given the education that we need to love our children regardless of who and what they are. Support Black Lives Matter, and thank you.
Tamara Anderson.
Hello. End zero tolerance. Mandate Black history and ethnic studies. Hire more Black teachers. Fund counselors, not cops. These are the national demands for the National Black Lives Matter Week of Action in schools. These are also the same demands of the Philly students who walked out in 1967. As a parent of a Philadelphia public school student, I want for my child to be in an environment where 2019 doesn't look like 1967. As a Black mother raising a Black daughter in a world that will silence and marginalize her, I want her to find her voice And that can't happen if she is only taught that Stokely Carmichael came from SNCC. But there would have been no SNCC without Ella Baker. That can't happen if Rosa Parks is only the NAACP secretary and not the sexual assault investigator who traveled constantly to investigate the rapes of Black women. That can't happen if she's not encouraged to read about Assata Shakur alongside Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. Or even worse, when her high school history books forget that the bus boycott was won on the backs and feet of Black women, since 80% of them were the bus riders at the time. The principles of the Black Lives Matter Week in schools that matter the most to me and my daughter are Black women, Black villages, and collective value. All of our children deserve to be at the center of the curriculum being taught and not an afterthought or a single event in February. They deserve to be educated with robust lessons because research shows that students who participate in ethnic or Black studies graduate at higher rates from high school and post-secondary. I believe that the school board and the school district of Philadelphia should endorse the National Black Lives Matter Week in schools because over 69% of our students are Black and Hispanic. Because they walked out in 2019 to protest gun violence. Because in 1967, Rizzo sent 400 police officers to attack the students. Because my daughter's Black life matters today and every day. And because it's simply the right thing to do. Thank you.
Okay. Barbara Dowdall, please.
It was A. Philip Randolph, civil rights leader, who originated the idea of a mass march to Washington in 1941, and 22 years later, it happened, and he was there, and he passed the torch to Martin Luther King. The school named for him today does not have a functioning library. That's for you. I regret to say here in the new year, where tradition insists that hope for all things good and true should be reinvigorated, that my hope, extended to this body at your first public meeting and 6 years into the superintendency of Dr. Height, and restated in September, particularly in regard to restoration of our school libraries, that hope seems increasingly without merit. At every brightly lighted, media-celebrated board member, staff, and elected official attended opening of a begged-for, materials-donated, and volunteer-staffed library space in a school, most recently at Beige, my heart cries out for the 190-some schools, including those I attended, Fittler, Roosevelt, and Girls High, those where I taught, Vaux, Girls High, William Penn, Germantown, Lankenau, Benjamin Rush, Dobbins, and Randolph. Those in my neighborhood, John B. Kelly and Fittler, and schools attended by my great-nieces and goddaughters, C.W. Henry, and all the other schools that still go without. And where can we find schools that do have authentic, professionally staffed libraries? Schools attended by our current and immediate past mayors, St. Joe's Prep. The school attended by children of current Board of Education members, Penn Alexander. Schools with carefully selected students and or millionaire alumni, Masterman and Central. And who speaks for a system-wide publicly funded provision of this resource? An elected school board member in Los Angeles, where teachers are currently struggling to get resources for their students. Southern states like South Carolina, northern cities like New York, other countries, New Zealand, recently published research, and my dentist. When I told her about the disappearance of school libraries in Philadelphia public schools, she was incredulous. No libraries? That's like saying you can do without food. And I was thrilled when I went to the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington to see that A. Philip Randolph statue in Union Station was moved for the day from its normal place next to Starbucks to the center of Union Station with flowers. And these are the kinds of things that students would find in their library books about Randolph and the many other leaders.
Eileen Posis.
America loves its slogans. Make America great. Just say no. No child left behind. Charters give us choice. But it seems that the slogans are mostly simplistic words that hide the complicated truth. Let's look at some of the facts about charters. Charters do not offer choice to parents. Charters choose its students. That's why they have fewer ESL and special education students. That's why they have more expulsions. And some charters have segregated schools that do not reflect the diversity in their community. Charters do not perform better than district schools in most instances. As Florina Rodolph writes in The Truth About Charters for The Atlantic, quote, only a handful perform better than public schools, while most do the same or worse, end quote. This performance is not surprising since most charters hire inexperienced staff and have high staff turnover. This is also true for principal turnover. The Philadelphia Education Research Consortium, the research completed by Matthew Steinberg from UPenn, found that there is 35% turnover for principals in charters, 24% in district schools. 31% of the principals in charters were first-year principals, while only 12% of the principals were first-year principals in district schools. This leads to more instability in the schools, which is bad for student achievement. 10 charter CEOs, according to the most recent tax information, are paid over $200,000 in salary and compensation. And all of these schools have SPR achievement ratings in the intervene category. These salaries are decided by the boards of the individual charters using our public tax dollars. The charter school office is understaffed, so there is limited oversight to charters. Memphis Street Charter, Richard Allen Charter, Aspira schools are allowed to continue despite failing academic achievement, poor finances, and organizational infractions. Florina Rodolph writes, quote, if they are to continue, charters need to be better regulated so they don't become cesspools of corruption, end quote. Lastly, the school district cannot afford any more charters. The board has no control over charter rentals, management fees, nor public access to the financial records of charters which profit from the charter system. 1/3 of the school district budget goes to charters with little oversight. Even the Chicago public schools recently closed 2 charters for poor performance, denied bids to open 3 new charters, according to the Tribune on December 3rd, 2018. So we can say no. If a new slogan is required, then try listening to this one. Channeling the Supremes. Stop in the name of kids. New charters you should forbid. Think it over. Try smaller classes, environmentally safe schools, libraries, support staff. That would be money better spent.
Sorry, as Coleman Posis comes to the table with the next 5 speakers, please come to the front of the room. Sherry Michaud, Paul Zwolak, Diana Mizdari, Carol Klimnick, and Philip Lockett. And Mr. Posis, you can begin. Thank you.
Dear members of the board, congratulations. Dear members of the board, congratulations. Last month, you accomplished the impossible. You found a way to crawl beneath the extremely low bar set by the SRC by reversing its decision to close Richard Allen Charter. The caliber of reasoning of this board can only be compared with the quality of instruction at Richard Allen. Consider the rationale that since so many children attend this charter, Richard Allen deserved to maintain its operation. By this logic, we should support the continuation of the opioid epidemic because these drugs are so popular. The irony here is that Richard Allen would actually be accomplishing a greater social good if enrollment were down, leaving fewer children exposed to the quality of instruction at the charter. Some board members might have also felt threatened by a possible lawsuit, which could cost the district as much as $500,000. $500,000, however, sounds like a bargain when you think of the millions lost by the school district every year in keeping Richard Allen open. In only 2.5 years, the board would recoup its legal fees and what it would gain by not paying the CEO's $200,000 annual compensation. If I were a member of the board, I would worry more about being sued from current and former Richard Allen families than by the charter itself. I also believe that the board has a better chance of winning a lawsuit against Richard Allen than the other way around. For starters, the board could sue for Richard Allen's failure to fulfill its terms of its contract and every other agreement that this charter has had with the school district. It is difficult to understand the ideological underpinnings of your rationale. It certainly contradicts the free market philosophy that charter schools and school choice are based upon. In the theoretical educational free market, the best teachers and the best schools are rewarded for a job well done. By contrast, your actions have rewarded incompetence. By current law, any member of this board can be removed by the mayor with the consent of City Council. Elections for these positions will be held next November. Your behavior, your ability to reason, or your lack thereof, and how the candidates feel about your competence will be a litmus test for the many educational activists in this city. We'll be watching.
Sherry Michaud, please.
Good evening. Recently, the contract to renew the QTAL program from WestEd was postponed. QTAL, which stands for Quality Teaching for English Learners, serves content area teachers struggling to accommodate math, science, social studies, and language arts instruction to the needs of English learners at all levels. What characteristics should be included in the design of teacher development programs and their evaluation? I will use the case of QTAL to discuss some of the characteristics of effective professional development programs. Characteristics such as, for example, a program that is intensive, in-person, and long-term, and QTAL meets that qualification through its a summer program and its year-long follow-through. Also, PD that provides opportunities for coaching by mentors and peers. QTAL allows that through the summer program and also through the year. Peer coaches and also through 440 follow-up and observation. It is essential that a PD program include a number of colleagues at a single school. They share knowledge of individual students and the quirks of the school and are best able to support each other. In addition, professional development that is focused and tied to individual areas of specialization. QTAL focuses specifically on disciplinary literacy, content area instruction, and this is much needed in the city. PD programs that are linked to current theoretical and frameworks and research, and QTAL focuses very heavily on content-based language instruction, disciplinary literacy, and second language acquisition research. And furthermore, a PD program that fills a need expressed by teachers, students, and school administrators. The YS consent decree in the mid-1980s called for sheltered content instruction in the Philadelphia schools, yet only very, very recently with QTAL has the kind of training for sheltered teachers been provided. So the QTAL contract supposedly did not have data to support its effectiveness, and my suggestions for the collection of data for any professional development program, including QTAL, would be, for example, the number of participants annually, their attendance and their perseverance in the long-term program, and the number of total hours of seat time for that program. For QTAL specifically, the number of sheltered content classes in the city that are peopled by a QTAL-trained professional. Surveys of PD participants on the degree to which they're implementing the new practices, participants' reflective diaries and annotated lesson plans based on the new practices, surveys of students talking about the degree to which their instruction is comprehensible, evidence of student work that is annotated to demonstrate how the QTAL principles are being implemented, access test scores, because access, the English language learner test, tests academic or content-based language. Finally, I hope that these characteristics and also the evaluation data would be used for all programs to keep all programs accountable. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Paul Zwolak.
Hello, my name is Paul Zwolak. I teach a sheltered high school African American and American history classes at the Newcomer Center at Franklin Learning Center. In preparation for this position, I completed my ESL Program Specialist Certificate at Temple University. I think my work at Temple University gave me a solid foundation upon which to start my work. However, being a lifelong learner and always trying to improve my craft, I need something more to meet the needs of my students. Quality Teaching for English Language Learners, or QTEL, has provided me with a pedagogical foundation that I think best serves the needs of all my students. The needs of my students vary almost as much as the places they come from. My students come from all over the world and bring with them a wide range of abilities and experiences. All of them are newcomers to our country with very limited experience with our language and culture. Some come from a place where they receive continuous education, but other students have limited or interrupted formal education, or we call SLIFE students, and have big but not insurmountable gaps in their education. I need to make curricular decisions on a daily basis that would best fit the needs of all my students, and my experience with QTEL gives me the flexibility I need to meet the needs of all my learners. My first exposure to the QTEL pedagogical philosophy was during a summer institute in 2016. Here we attended a week-long PD where we were introduced to the fundamentals of the QTEL. Since our first week at the Institute, we attended a year-long professional development series where we had a chance to collaborate with other QTEL-trained content teachers across the district. Furthermore, I have had the opportunity to attend a QTEL Coaches Professional Development last summer, where we unpacked what quality instruction for Ls looks and feels like. It is through this type of sustained interaction with a philosophy that ideas start to take root, which benefits both teachers and students alike. As a content social studies teacher, my goal is for our students to gain a deep understanding of what we're learning. Also, I want them to enjoy their experience at school. I want my classroom to be alive and vibrant with students engaging and discussing the content. After all, learning is a social process, and with 33 newcomer students in my classroom, there are plenty of opportunities for the social interaction. The traditional methods of learning are convenient for students and teachers alike, but teachers and students deserve something better. I feel the QTEL training I received and have been refining over the last 2.5 years provides a pedagogy that serves the needs of all my students. Language learning is not linear, but a dynamic process, and with so many different learners with so many different needs, we need to rethink and redefine what quality teaching for ELs looks like. QTEL uses amplified, not simplified materials to create the conditions for the students to use conversation and social interactions to promote language development in meaningful contexts. The QTEL pedagogy is an asset-based economic pedagogical approach that best serves the needs of all my students. I feel that QTEL tasks like double entry journals, collaborative posters, mind maps, knowledge ratings, and anticipatory guides gives my students a chance to both think deeply about the content and the language scaffolds necessary to interact with it. Okay, thank you for your time.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Diana Misdary, and I'm really privileged to be in front of you this Thursday night. This takes me back to Thursday nights, actually, when I was in elementary school, where every Thursday night was the night before a spelling test. And as an immigrant, that was a big deal because, you know, my dad was working nights, and my mom didn't really know much more than the alphabet, which she had learned in our home country of Egypt. So it was kind of like a free-for-all. It was me and my mom with the spelling sheet in her hand, and, you know, she assuming that I was getting words right, and I really would never know until Friday the next day at the spelling test. But, you know, it all worked out, and one would say, you know, I'm part of this, you know, model minority who's come to the country and really made it. And I want to talk to you not just as one of your algebra 9th grade teachers here at Franklin Learning Center, but I want to talk to you about QTEL as a person who went through the public school system here in America. And since 8th grade, I've only ever had white male teachers in my math classes. I only sat in rows, usually in the back with other students of color, and we just kind of figured it out together or grappled with it at home. There was never engagement. I never really knew who I was really until after I graduated college, where I started to grapple with the issues of identity and coherence of who I was in the grand scheme of things. And I want to talk about QTEL as a space where not only did I continue to do that as an adult learner and as a person, but I also found the tools to do that with my students. Franklin Learning Center is a really rich diversity of students, both across abilities and backgrounds and home countries. And so what I do in my classroom every single day is to have the awareness not just of what I would want in my classroom, but how do I pull out all of their vastly different backgrounds. You know, not all of them have my story, not all of them have each other's story, even if they look alike and sound alike. And so putting them in things like groups, having them work together on collaborative posters, writing their names in a different color marker, so I know what work they did and holding them accountable to it. Even if the students who are uncomfortable using mathematical language, how do I blend informal dialogue into the formal mathematic language that's so dense that they need, because when they show up to college or remedial CCP classes, they won't even measure a fraction of what the other students are coming with. And those are the things I think about every single day. This is one of the best PDs I've ever attended as an educator. It's certainly by far the best mathematics PD I've ever attended. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention, not only as someone who didn't have these resources as a learner, but someone who employs them every single day, both on a personal and professional level. I have the materials with me if you'd like to take a look at them, and I really appreciate your time and your attention. Have a great evening.
I believe Carol, are you Mr. Lockett? Yes, I think Carol Klimnick's next, and then you. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We need the board to just say no to approving any more charters. Take a courageous stand for all of the students in the district by refusing to approve anymore. You are at a critical juncture in your freshman year of governing the district. Will you step up and take a stand for students in district-managed schools, or will you capitulate to the interests of charter management companies and their legislative supporters eager for more backpacks full of cash crossing their portals? Many of us have testified both tonight and at other committee and action meetings, laying out numerous reasons for you to take this stance. Board members, become leaders of courage. Use that $40 million that would go into these 3 new proposed charter schools for a little over 2,000 students over 5 years to actually speed up renovations, repairs, lead and asbestos removal in school buildings. No child should get second-degree burns from a faulty electrical outlet while in school, as a parent told us last month. That $40 million can go towards restoring school libraries with a certified school librarian, lowering class size, putting a classroom assistant in every kindergarten class, bringing back non-teaching assistants, and ensuring that every school has an adequate number of counselors and nurses. Until this happens, there should be a moratorium on approving charter schools. At almost every board committee meeting, the issue of equity is raised by you, the board members. How can there be any equity in a system that does not provide for its own with its limited funds? Turn a deaf ear to the political pressures put on you, do the right thing, and say no to approving any more charter schools. Stop asphyxiating our schools by denying them the funding they need to survive. Now, my question for tonight, if the board actually votes next month to deny any of these 3 new charters, and the charter schools decide to follow legal options to challenge your decision, who pays for their legal counsel? Do they have a legal fund, or does it come out of their school budget that is funded with our tax dollars?
Mr. Lockett. And I will also ask the next 5 speakers to come to the front as Mr. Lockett is coming to the table. Robin Lowry, please. Anita Tallington, Anna Cabani, Mama Gale, and Deborah Grill. Thank you, Mr. Lockett. You can start.
I did? Okay. I first want to say good evening to Superintendent Dr. Height and Madam President Joyce Wilkerson, and to all the members of the board. I'm here today because my 11-year-old grandson, who goes to James Road School at 52nd and Parish Street, is being bombarded by bullies. These bullies are supported by the staff and the teachers that are in the school. We never get calls when he has a small behavior problem, that's all. He's good in the house, but when he goes to school, because of the peer pressure from the bullies who want him to join their gang, and he become a target. And because he's not going in with the bullies, he's been suspended twice this month for doing the same thing that the bully role models do all day in that school. You know, just normal little things. Me and my daughter are on the books to call when he has that small behavior problem. We never get calls. We asked, I was going to volunteer to work in the schools, but they wanted me to work 8 hours a day, and being 70 years old now, I can't do an 8-hour shift no more. So I depend on those phone calls. And it seems like they don't want to work with us. He came from another school, and he was a straight A student. But when he got in this school, because he didn't want to join the gang, he's a target. And then the teachers and principals support it. He got suspended. Last time he got suspended was because he blocked a hit from a young lady. He's being set up by the bullies, and then as soon as he blocked the punch from the young girl, he gets suspended. And if you go to James Rose and watch them dismissed from school, that's all you see. The girls beating up the boys beating up the girls. It's just a normal thing. But why is he being singled out? I think we need to take and address this. There is two different school boards here. I heard tonight all those wonderful programs and everybody's rolling. And then you got another school that targets kids. And Charles and some of the other speakers before me, they was right on. We need more exposure to what's really going on in our Philadelphia school system today. And thank you.
Mr. Lockett, so I understand that you and your daughter, or maybe your daughter, have spoken to staff today, and there's been a meeting set up at the school. Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not aware of that today.
Okay.
It must have happened today.
Yeah, so Karen Lynch, who's in the back, can
Okay.
talk with you about that, because I think someone on her staff spoke with, must have been your daughter.
Yeah, because I gave up, I'm not hiding anything. I told them I was coming here.
Okay.
So I want to set it up, because if they work with us, we can work with them, and we can save my son, my grandson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Robin Lowry.
Good evening. I'm a health and phys ed teacher at Edison High School with 25 years in, and I just spent my day in a 62-degree gymnasium. Some classrooms where we've been testing are 85 degrees. And at least in the gym, it's an incentive to work out. And when we get back on Tuesday, it'll be in the 50s after a few days, the heat off. Teachers are rising up for the learning conditions of students because our working conditions are their learning conditions. School buildings need to be safe and functional. If teachers didn't complain, ask, and beg for improvements, these conditions would be ignored. We notice the mold, the mice, the roaches, etc. We celebrate when there's paper and maybe even soap in the bathrooms. It's the little things that demonstrate neglect of students' learning environments. Every classroom in the district has a wall clock, but have you ever seen one that functions? Our gymnasium floor was refinished finally, but it's done so poorly that when I put tape on the floor, the finish comes up. But vacancies at Edison are a big issue. maybe even the biggest issue. We've been understaffed for the 3 years that I've been at Edison. We started this year with vacancies. We have 6 positions filled daily with long-term subs. We have absences due to illness and other reasons people miss work, school trips, trainings. That adds more subs to the building. At any time, we may have several subs, but we used to get retired teachers, people who knew how to teach and develop relationships, could remember names, control a classroom, didn't fall for the wiliness of teens. But the subs now bring books to read and sit huddled reading those books. I've had PE subs sit in the gym, and I have to tell them to get out into the gym. In the Acceleration Network, teachers get additional PD, but we don't feel like Kelly services get any training. They're certainly not being trained to teach the way that they're subbing for classes, and they're subbing whole year, and then those students in those subs classes get the default grade of a D. So students are complaining, they're concerned, and they feel like the subs aren't teaching and they're not learning anything in these classrooms, and then they're getting a D. But I was also wanting to share concern with that proposal for the renewal of the contract with Magnum that y'all just voted on. I don't understand why you have to work to or spend $400,000 to recruit teachers when we have college programs in the area. And shouldn't students in those programs at Temple know to apply to the district? After all, Philly's hip, and if we had good working conditions and healthy buildings, that would be the best recruiting tool. If you look at Magnum's website, they tout their gaming and casino industries, and under the industries it serves, the education tab says, quote, "We can reach your student acquisition goals and meet your teacher recruitment objectives." I don't really understand the student acquisition goals. Why are we hiring them? I could go on.
Thank you. Call the next.
Anita Tallington, please.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Height. My name is Anita Tallington, and I come before you today to express my support for the Quality Teaching for English Learners, which is called QTEL program. I am an ESOL teacher at Woodrow Wilson Middle School. We are the largest middle school in Northeast Philadelphia, and we have the second largest ESOL population with approximately 377 English learners, or Ls. Our ESOL department consists of 5 ESOL teachers. And we work very hard to support the needs of every L and their content teachers. Our job is becoming increasingly difficult because we continue to receive new Ls, and we are unable to provide sufficient support for each class. For this reason, it is important that we use a program that will help content teachers provide quality instruction to our Ls, and one that promotes the use of high-quality supports that make lessons accessible to every L. The QTEL model works because it uses high-quality supports so that every student can participate in the lesson at their level. Some of our content teachers have already attended a full year of the QTEL training, which included professional development sessions. We've received informal observations, and we have completed turnaround training for other content area teachers. As a result of using the QTEL model in my ESOL classes, I have seen tremendous growth in my students' access scores for the 2017 school year. I've watched my beginning speakers increase their language skills, and I've watched how they have grown intellectually. The most remarkable gain was made by a beginning speaker from Syria who had an access score of 1.4 during the 2016 school year, and that increased to a 3.4 during the 2017 school year. In closing, I respectfully request that before making a final decision in regards to this program, take a moment to visit the schools and to observe the teachers who have implemented the QTEL training in their classes. Also, look at the test scores and the enthusiasm of the students who have benefited from this planning and instructional model. See what works best for the ESOL teachers, the content teachers, and most importantly, for the success of our ESOL students. Thank you for your time and have a good evening.
Anna Kabani, please.
My name is Anna Kobani, and I am a science teacher at the Franklin Learning Center High School. I teach all sheltered classes. I'm here today to support the funding of the QTEL program. I first heard about this program 3 years ago, but due to scheduling conflicts, I wasn't able to sign up until last summer. I had reservations about sitting in a week-long PD right after a very long school year. I was also eager to spend time with my one-year-old at the time. And also, I'd been to one too many useless PDs, so I had one too many reservations. But one of my FLC colleagues insisted that I should give it a try. So naturally, I asked her if it was worth it, not for the money, but really worth the time. She said yes, and knowing her and knowing that she does not embellish, I proceeded to sign up. And I'm glad I did, because this has been one of the best PDs I've ever attended. The coaches from West Ed were very knowledgeable, and Donna Scherer has continued to add and reinforce what I learned during the summer in the follow-up sessions. I've always been the teacher who likes to challenge her students, and I know I've supported them, but I didn't really know and I didn't understand how to scaffold properly until I was shown during the QTEL PD. QTEL has given me the tools I need to bring all the students in the high challenge, high support zone, which is where the learning occurs. I have not used all the strategies covered during training, but whatever I've tried has made a big difference. My students are more engaged, and now they do the challenging work that I've always wanted them to do. My students are newcomers with very limited English proficiency, but they can read and interpret data on planetary characteristics. They can describe photosynthesis and cellular respiration. And the beauty of this program is that it's not just for English language learners. I think I will be able to use these strategies wherever I go. I have a master's degree in education from Temple University, and I graduated with high honors. I do not tell you this to highlight my achievement, but to highlight the fact that I've learned more during the 40-plus hours at QTEL than I learned during the 2 years at Temple University. I hope that you, in your final cost to benefit analysis, you will consider funding QTEL because it works. Thank you.
Is Mama Gail here? Deborah Grill, then, please. And the next 5 speakers, please come to the front. Marquita Ross, Anthony Jones, Stacy Sellers, Tanya Ba, and Linda Rubin.
Good evening. I'm here to urge you to deny the 3 new charter applications that have been submitted. The district cannot afford to approve any more charters. Last year, Research for Action released a report that studied the effect of charter school growth in Philadelphia and 5 other school districts. They found that over a 5-year period, charter growth could cost the district at best over $22 million, at worst over $154 million. In the worst-case scenario, the district would have to close 47 schools, lay off 1,200 teachers, and 500 administrators. In the best-case scenario, the district would have to close 22 schools. And for what? For an expansion of schools, most of which do worse or no better than district schools. And almost all of the few that do better enroll students of a demographic that does not reflect the district's demographics. Your own CFO has stated that charter costs are the biggest item in the district's budget. The SRC approved many charters on the assumption that they could not deny a charter based on the added cost to the district. According to David Lapp, formerly of the Education Law Center, they were mistaken. In his testimony to the SRC, He said that the district can legally take into account the impact that the added costs of any new charters would have on district schools when considering new applications. He pointed out there is no dispute that the district currently is not in a financial position to afford more charter schools without damaging the existing system, and that the statutory text of the charter school law specifically contemplates the impact on the public school system. He pointed out that there's never been a charter appeals board or court holding that a fiscally distressed school district is prevented from considering the educational impact on all students, including students in district schools, when deciding whether to approve a new charter school application, and that no cases have addressed these issues since the charter reimbursement was eliminated. He further advised that not only is there no risk in doing this, but that you may be hurting the district by not raising these issues. I've attached a copy of his full testimony and handed it in. It's very clear that the district is financially distressed. Students in district schools have had to sit in crumbling and unhealthy buildings and do without basic resources like libraries, without adequate staffing and supports, while each year charter expenses consume more and more of the district's budget. If the board continues to approve new charters at the expense of your district schools, you send the students for whom you are responsible directly the message that their needs are secondary to those of the charter investors. There's no real evidence that charters are any better than public schools. They are not a sure thing. You should not, like the SRC, continue to gamble the district's limited funds on charter expansion under the guise of doing what is best for the children. Thank you.
Some of our speakers who were registered are not here, so Stacy Sellers is next.
Good evening, Dr. Height, members of the school board, and fellow parents. My name is Stacy Sellers. I have two boys that attend Mastery Charter Thomas Elementary, one in 3rd grade and one in 5th grade. I am a member of the Thomas Parent Action Team and a member of the Thomas Elementary Parents Association. My 5th grader has been with Thomas since its conception in 2013. When I first applied to Mastery, I did not know what to expect since this was my first child going into school. It was the best decision we made for our children's education. Why, you're wondering? Because Mastery cares. Mastery cares about my children and the children that are in their care every day. They spend 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, and 10 months of the year under Mastery's care, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The school team listens to our concerns, welcomes our feedback, and makes us feel like family. The education that my children get at Mastery is an education that I dreamed about when I was a child. The music program they offer is giving both my boys confidence to expand their creativity. My oldest son just got an award for perfect attendance because he truly loves going to school every single day. They are both in a leadership program that is teaching them to give back and help others. Mastery Charter Thomas Elementary is very diverse, and we celebrate that diversity. Our families at Mastery Thomas reflect the entire city: white, African American, Latino, and Asian. In fact, 11 different languages are spoken at Thomas, including Spanish, Burmese, Chinese, and Arabic, just to name a few. Mastery is supporting the growth and development of successful children that they will grow into successful adults that are going to do amazing things in their lives because of what they learned at Mastery. I am very thankful for Scott Gordon for having a vision for great public schools that serve all children. To me, that is what public education is all about. I came here tonight to share my experience and to thank you all for your support. Please know that we are committed to working with you to make it possible for all of Philadelphia's children to have a great public education. Thank you all so much for your time.
Tanya Ba.
Philadelphia School District needs $5 billion to repair and replace Philly school buildings and the infrastructure. All Philadelphia students deserve state-of-the-art learning centers and fully equipped libraries, classrooms that are environmentally environmental hazards can't possibly be linked to truancy, asthma, and other public education challenges. We know that there's a racial bias in Pennsylvania school funding. We know this. But Philadelphia has another big problem, charters. And yet the board is asked to consider 3 new applicants next month. The largest allotment in the district's struggling budget goes to 87 charter schools. Our public schools' resources are diluted. Using the fake results from horrible standardized tests, teachers are blamed for our children's suffering. Do teachers decide whether or not Philadelphia increases more charter schools? Do parents decide if Philadelphia increases its number of charter schools? Who decides the staffing for the charter school office because it's extremely low? About 12 staff to monitor 87 schools. Whose idea was this? Will you consider this concern when deciding to stop the bleeding? Thankfully, this board is new, and it has a chance to actually consider what happens to the students in non-charter schools, as the budget they get is at present inadequate. We need the board to care about all of Philadelphia's public school students and their communities. Demonstrate your understanding by not being pushed to rubber stamp any additional charter schools. You can have a position and an effect on Philadelphia public school students by saying no to any new charter applications. My name is Tanya Ba. I'm a graduate of Philadelphia Public Schools, and I'm a parent of twins in Philadelphia Public Schools. Consider the bleeding and stop it. Thanks.
As Linda Rubin comes to the table, could the following people please come up? Donna Sharer, Cecilia Thompson, David Hensel, and Caitlin McCann. Please come to the front. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm concerned about the inequity between educational resources being provided to Philadelphia public schools depending on which neighborhood they live in. I'm concerned about the necessity of schools having to individually conduct major fundraising campaigns to pay for essential school service resources like libraries. That the ability to raise such donation funds tends to be in those schools with parents and alumni of above average income and political clout, neighborhoods in some stage of gentrification, and those able to create friends of organizations, and then watch district administrators and the mayor glad hand in front of the cameras as if they had anything to do with restoring the program at hand. I'm concerned about the fact that such fundraising is certainly increasing the divide between have and have-not schools, with schools in poorer and neighborhoods of color falling into the have-not category. That even when resources are returned to schools in need, especially those in the SGS process, the funding is only temporary. I'm concerned about relying more and more on non-educator private businesses to drive our instruction. I'm concerned about the lack of providing sufficient trauma-informed programs and necessary in-school support staff in all schools to support all of our children in a city with such extreme poverty and violence, then blaming the schools, teachers, and principals for poor climate control and low scores, even closing them against the community's wishes. I'm concerned that you don't recognize the lack of teacher retention is not a marketing problem, but due to the administration's lack of respect and support as valued colleagues, poor working conditions, including testing over teaching, class size, and yes, even pay. I'm concerned about the lack of concern for children and teachers' health by allowing them to work in toxic buildings you have known or should have known about for years. I'm especially concerned that the board seems to be on the same trajectory as the SRC regarding the encroachment of charter schools and the money they suck out of the district. You don't actively encourage them as did the SRC, but you do, in essence, by giving in to extensions and enrollment increases, even to failing charters, not following up on revocations for cause, and opening new charters, all because you're afraid of legal costs. And thus, in the spirit of the State of the Union, usually conducted every January, I believe that without key changes in what you do, the board spends money on and doing more than just contracting with private businesses and marketing public schools. The state of public education in Philadelphia is neither strong, equitable, nor sustainable for many, many students.
Donna Sharer.
Good evening, school board and Dr. Height. I'm Donna Shearer. I have taught in the school district since September 1992. Since August 2014, I've worked as a 6th to 12th grade curriculum development specialist in the Office of Multilingual Curriculum and Programs. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of Disciplinary Professional Development for Secondary Teachers, Quality Teaching for English Learners, or QTEL. I would like to clarify some information about this initiative and present a brief history of why this professional development program has expanded since it was offered in Philadelphia in August 2016. I will not be able to read my entire statement because of the time constraints. I encourage you to read the entire statement and the addendum, which includes annual reports for the Philadelphia QTEL PD. That big stack of papers over there. QTEL, developed by Aida Walkey and colleagues at WestEd, a nonprofit education research organization, was selected in 2015-16 because of its, 1, focus on disciplinary teacher and language learning, 2, theoretical grounding in social linguistic and social cultural learning, 3, experience with large urban districts, and 4, a non-deficit model of instruction, or high challenge with high supports. Also, building local teacher capacity and expertise is an underlying goal of QTEL. To participate, teachers had to apply to QTEL as a school team and commit to a year-long process that includes Saturday PDs. This culminates with teacher-facilitated turnaround professional development at their schools. I plan and facilitate the Saturday PDs and work with the teachers on planning their school-based PDs. They are not handed a script. It's developed by the teachers for their schools. Teacher participation was 25 teachers in August 2016, 76 teachers in August 2017, and 101 teachers in June 2018. Approximately 80% of the teachers are disciplinary teachers and 20% are ESOL teachers. Therefore, ESOL teachers collaborate with disciplinary teachers, and disciplinary teachers have an opportunity to collaborate across schools. We do not offer teachers incentives, such as iPad, Chromebook, breakfast or lunch, nor schools thousands of dollars, models that are not sustainable or replicable. Teachers receive Act 48 credits and are paid at the school district professional development rate. The opportunity to learn, plan, and reflect for a year with disciplinary and school-based colleagues is an incentive. The decision to expand QTEL to a whole school model is based on feedback from teachers and need. The goal has been challenged based on a 2012 report from the National Center for Education Evaluation and Regional Assistance. Report based on a study of suburban and urban California middle school English language arts classes from 2007 to 10 concluded, and I quote, "No significant effects were found on student learning, but most teachers who received the invitation to participate did not receive the services offered. Because of budget cuts, teacher layoffs, teacher participation was generally low, therefore making an incomplete picture of implementation. Report concluded it's not possible to generalize the results because, quote, results may not be representative of the school and are fully committed to QTEL. It takes
Excuse me. I want to thank you.
Cecilia Thompson, please.
I have a question. Is this going back to the Student Achievement Committee?
Yes, the Student Achievement Committee had some questions at the meeting, and so staff present at the meeting did not have some answers, and we asked if a delay would impact the implementation. Staff indicated that if it was approved in February, they could still move forward with plans, and so it does come back to Student Achievement.
So invite people who want to offer more input in a different setting to please attend our Student Achievement meeting in February. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My title is a little misleading. The 10-second version is educator at my child's school sent something which I felt was threatening. And rather than talk about that specifically, I looked on the Board of Education's website and I didn't see anything where if I threaten the school, I can be banned from the school. But if a educator sends something threatening to me, what is my right as a family member who has a child in that school? I didn't see any due process. I didn't see what the protocol was. Like, what is the protocol for conflict resolution? I know you go to the principal, but when that doesn't work, then what is it? Because I like to follow the procedure. For example, I know in special education, if you disagree, there's some procedures in place, but I did not see anything in place. And I know the larger issue is there are a lot of families who don't want to participate in schools because of something that was said or something that was written. I always like to see things that happen to me as an opportunity to speak out on it and come up with some resolution, because I don't want it to be all of a sudden when I start going to the school for meetings, now staff acting funny, because I don't go to schools animated or anything like that. But I do believe there should be something, and it may be buried in the Board of Education policy, since they aren't SRC stuff anymore, it's Board of Education, and maybe I'm not finding it, but there should be something where if there is a miscommunication somewhere, let's talk it out and get that situated so that all of us as adults can focus on the student, because that's what adults are coming at. I'm advocating for my child. We're having a conversation, but it should never be that the same way that I should never, or no parent should ever threaten a staff should never come at family members like that. And it should be some type of professional development as I end on what to do when there's a miscommunication or you have an upset family member. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Height.
Ms. Thompson, the assistant superintendent is aware of this situation. I think there was an email that was sent over the weekend, I think from you to one of our staff members. Assistant superintendent has that and will be reaching out to you because they are following up on the complaint that you raised.
I know that we have policy at the board level. We have policies that mandate respect going both ways. I am not familiar with the administrative procedures, and I don't know what the process is for pursuing complaints.
Yeah. Nor do I know. We have instances for young people to fill out bullying and harassment. We could use a similar process, but I'm not sure we have communicated that clearly enough so parents will know what to do if, in fact, they feel like they've been threatened.
We will get back to you on that. I think that's a legitimate issue, and certainly has the potential of undermining what it is that we're trying to do in all of our schools. And we commit to making sure that we have a clear path forward for parents who face that kind of situation. But thank you for bringing it to us.
Thank you. I appreciate being heard.
David Hensel, please.
My name is David Hensel. I'm the PFT building representative at Taggart Elementary and a member of the Caucus of Working Educators. The United Teachers of Los Angeles went on strike on Monday. Over 50,000 union members, parents, students, and community members marched through the streets of LA as demands for essential supports that should be a given in any city when ignored by an out-of-touch CEO and school board with terrible plans to divide up the district and destroy public education in their city. What UTLA is asking for are the basics that every successful school district needs: an investment in educators, more teaching and less testing, librarians and libraries in every school, more counselors, more nurses, healthy schools free from lead, mold, and asbestos, a moratorium on rampant charter growth, and making education the city's top priority. While the nation's eyes are on LA, we need to take a good hard look at some of what the UTLA is asking for and focus on how those demands relate to what is so very badly needed here in Philadelphia. Demand 1, more teaching and less testing. If we want to prioritize reading on level by 4th grade, we have to look at how we spend money here. It's not just all the tens of millions that is dumped into paying for all these tests. It's all the coaches, consultants, cohorts, computer programs, and confusion that goes with one initiative after another being dumped on the teachers and then soon discarded. It's all too much. A perfect example being the $17 million CLI contract that is up for renewal. Often the success of CLI depends on the coach, but even the best coach can't give the kids what they need the most, and that is teachers who can work directly with them to improve their reading. With all these millions you approve each month, let's start thinking about how many reading specialists, ESL, and learning support teachers, and SSAs we can get for all that money. Let's free our teachers up from the ever-increasing amount of testing, paperwork, and far too extensive lesson plans, and let's give them the autonomy and ability to teach. More teachers, less tests. More teaching, less testing. This should be the motto of this school board. Demand 2, libraries and librarians in every school. This should be a given in LA and Philadelphia. Some will say, how do we pay for it? We pay for it by making it a top priority. One way to do that is for the district and city leaders to meet with the heads of our universities and let them and the public know that it's well past time for pilots to fund our school libraries. What kind of person who is regarded as an educational leader could fight against school libraries for our kids? What kind of advocates for education are we if we do not fight to make this a reality? Along with that, we must fully fund our neighborhood free libraries. What good is a local library to a kid that's barely ever open at times when they can use it? Enough is enough. Fund our libraries already. Let's all make it happen everywhere. A nurse in every school every day. Stop taking our nurses out of these schools, our own schools, to go to other schools where there's a vacancy, because at some point, we're not going to have a nurse in our school, there's going to be an emergency, and some kid's going to die. I'm terrified of a tragedy happening again. We can't go through that again. We've got to fill these vacancies. Kelly Services should have never been hired as the substitutes for nurses. It needs to stop. Lastly, please stop having meetings, open meetings during school hours. We all want to go to these meetings. They have to be after school so that parents, teachers, community leaders can be a part of it.
The next speaker.
It's time for our next speaker, please. Caitlin McCann, and then if Christopher Frank could also come to the front to be our last speaker. Is Caitlin McCann here? Yes, did someone say? No? Okay. Mr. Frank, please, thank you.
Good evening, and in the effort of full disclosure, I will say that I am very proud to be related to one of the board members up there before you tonight. So
she's dying of embarrassment.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Height. My name is Christopher Frank, and I'm the director of the Magnet program at Northeast High School. We're beginning and ending your public comments tonight. I would like to thank Dr. Height and Dr. Bird for hiring and appointing Mr. Omar Crowder as the principal of Northeast High School. He is doing an excellent job, and the teachers and students and parents are pleased with his leadership and the seamless transition in our administrative team. It's really been a wonderful choice. The Magnet program is unique in this city. It is a special admissions program within a comprehensive neighborhood high school. Northeast is the largest high school in the city of Philadelphia, which brings its own challenges, and nearly 3,500 students are in Northeast every day. The Magnet program is the largest program inside of Northeast with nearly 850 students. Because of our special admission status, the Magnet program is able to set the criteria and draw students from all over the city of Philadelphia. We think this is a good model and one that the district should embrace. By having a Magnet program within a neighborhood high school, we have opportunities for all of the students at Northeast High School, not just for the benefit, and I was hoping you would hear that through the student testimonies this evening. This includes a full IB diploma program, 20 AP courses, the second most in the city, and we are also the third highest achieving in terms of AP scores. First is Masterman, second is Central, and third is Northeast High School, again, a neighborhood high school. Where am I here? We also have the prestigious AP Capstone program. We have been the only school in the city of Philadelphia. And again, we're not in a wealthy neighborhood. We don't have parents that are well connected, but we are doing the hard work of helping students who are low income and first generation and from immigrant families, as you heard here today. They travel to our school as a destination for the opportunities to go where they're going. Boston University on a full scholarship, Johns Hopkins on a full scholarship funded by Bloomberg. And we are so proud. And I could fill this room with those students who are having the same opportunities. So I encourage you, 2 years ago, our program was in danger. I reached out, and Dr. Height and Dr. Lynch halted the proposal. And I hope for your continued support for the Magnet program to get behind us and what we're doing so that we can continue to provide access to a quality, rigorous education. Thank you.
I want to thank all of our speakers tonight. On behalf of the Board of Education, I'd like to invite you to our next committee meetings on Thursday, February 21st. The Finance and Facilities Committee will meet at 4 p.m. and the Student Achievement and Support Committee will meet at 6 p.m. All committee meetings will be on the board committee in the board committee room downstairs, Suite 101. Please visit our website for the full calendar of meetings. Our next action meeting will be held in this room on February 28th at 5 p.m. I'll now move to adjourn this meeting of the Board of Education and convene the meeting of the Intermediate Unit. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes. Yes.
The meeting of the board, the action meeting of the Board of Education is adjourned. We will now begin our meeting of the Intermediate Unit. Ms. Rauch, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Dancy is not present. Ms. Ahaya Hinton, please.
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Fix Lopez.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Huang.
Present.
Thank you. Dr. McColgan.
Present.
Thank you. Dr. McGinley.
Present.
Thank you. Vice President Walker.
Present.
Thank you. And President Wilkerson.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, before we proceed, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the December 13th Intermediate Unit meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say yes.
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 Those minutes are approved. We have one item for the Intermediate Unit, Action Item 1, amendment of the Philadelphia Intermediate Unit contracts for summer 2018 ESY services. May I have a motion and a second to consider IU Item 1?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any comments or questions about Item 1 for IU? Hearing none. Ms. Rauch, please call for the votes.
Yes, thank you. I understand there are some abstentions as to this item, and if the crowd could please be quiet so everybody could hear. Thank you. On IU1, Ms. Ahaya Hinton.
Abstention because of my connection to the Public Health Management Corporation.
Ms. Ahaya Hinton, do I understand that you're abstaining just as to PHMC?
Just for PHMC.
Okay, and how are you voting for the rest of the action item?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Fix Lopez?
I'm voting yes, except abstaining to UPenn as our current client.
Thank you. Mr. Huang?
I'm abstaining on Penn due to my affiliations there. Yes for all others.
Thank you. Dr. McColgan?
Yes.
Dr. McGinley?
Yes.
Vice President Walker?
Yes.
And President Wilkerson?
Yes.
Thank you. I will announce the vote. There are, the vote, the item passes as to Penn by a vote of 5 yes, 0 no, and 2 abstentions. As to Public Health Management Corporation, the vote passes 6 yes votes, 0 no votes, and 1 abstention. And as to all other entities in the action item, the vote passes by a vote of 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you. This brings us to the end of our meeting of the Intermediate Unit. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.